Third POV. As. Boom. Ack. A 10-year-old Izuku screamed in pain as he was blasted into the side of the alley. Beside him was a defeated and fainted EV. Its fur singed black in fire. That's what happens when you try to challenge me to a Pokemon battle, Deku. Izuku looked up fearfully to the person above him. Bakugo stood towering over the downed Izuku, his Kalava by his trainer's side, looking practically untouched in comparison, aside from a tiny scratch. Actually, screw the Pokemon battle, it was obvious that we would have won, and Kalava needed some more experience. Bakugo continued. What was really stupid of you was to hopelessly challenge me at anything. Izuku quivered in fear. He's right, Izuku thought. Kakin and Kalava are so strong, especially ever since it evolved a year ago. But Izuku looked to the scratch on the side Kalava's face. My strategy worked back there. Heavy managed to strike at Kalava. That means we are getting smarter and stronger too. And I'm a man of my word, Bakugo said. For my win, you get a beating from me, just as Kalava would to that runt of yours. There was no way that you were ever going to win and make me stop calling you Deku. You shouldn't have even tried. Bakugo proceeded to turn and walk away. But I did. Bakugo froze as he turned back to Deku, who was struggling to get back up. And I'd do it again. And again. And again and again. I'll keep trying. Izuku raised his head towards Bakugo, a weak yet brave smile on his face. Because that's the kind of hero I'm going to be. Someone who doesn't ever give up and saves the day with a smile on his face. Bakugo's eyes widened before they shifted back into fury, his teeth gritting. Stupid Deku. Then get back up from this. Bakugo launched his foot and struck Izuku onto his stomach, the 10-year-old gasping in pain as he fell back to the ground. His body convulsed as he barfed up his lunch. Well, come on, future hero Deku. Get back up and face me. Come on. Izuku's body quivered as he tried to move but soon stopped and remained still. Kiske, I knew it, you can't, Bakugo said. Because you are a worthless, useless, quirkless loser, Deku. You are nothing even with that loser Pikachu, and even more so with that useless runt you call an EV. Izuku gazed up, Bakugo and Kalava's forms shadowed by the sun, the two's eyes appearing like demonic red eyes to the weak Izuku. No matter if you evolve that runt, or catch that Pikachu. Hell, even if you somehow get a quirk, you'll never beat me, Deku. So don't ever try. Present. Bakugo laid limp by the destroyed wall. His eyes opened but were completely white as he was unconscious from the quick impact to the back of the head. Kalava and Lucario likewise were beside him, their swirly eyes and limp bodies showing that they too were fainted. Izuku stood a few meters away, his EV by his left, one arm broken and colored purple while the other one, burnt by Bakugo's earlier explosion, was raised into the air in victory. I did it, Izuku weakly thought as he panted hard. His face was covered by shadows. I finally beat you. Right, Kakin. A flash of pain and exhaustion racked his body. Whatever strength and stamina Izuku had left suddenly dropped to nothing, as his vision blurred and his knees buckled. But I'm not looking too good myself. Am I? Izuku's legs buckled and Izuku started dropping to the ground, his half-lidded eyes drooping till they were closed. I guess it's a draw then. Damn it. Thank you with Uraraka, Pikachu, everyone, for the support, but I feel so tired. Why am I so tired? Izuku collapsed to the ground, unconscious. All Might watched with the rest of the class, wide-eyed and jaw dropped at the epic conclusion to the exercise. You did it. All Might whispered in pride. The hero team wins. Above where Deku was, Uraraka slid down the weapon, her face green as she started to hurl. Ida quickly removed his helmet and attended to the zero-gravity user as she convulsed in nausea. Minnie flew to its nauseous trainer, her revealed face showing concern. Over with the rest of the students, they looked at the screens, showing the conditions of the 4 students and their Pokemon. What a weird way for this to end. Kaminari said, as they screens showed a downed Bakugo, Kalava, Lucario, and Deku. A near-hurling Uraraka comforted by Ida with her Minior beside them. Almost both teams are on the ground, including the winners. Yet Ida's still mostly untouched. How's the old saying go? Tokoyami muttered in question. The heroes may have ultimately lost the battle, but they won the war. This class is intense, Azui noted, as she stared at the now passed-out Midoriya being nudged by Eevee in worry. Her finger over her chin in worry and thought. Midoriya put up a damn good fight. Against that strong Bakugo guy no less, Jiru said. Even after using that crazy power and breaking his arm, he still fought on to win his fight. Although, she paused as she looked at Izuku's unconscious and battered form, biting her mouth in concern. Was this fight worth so much to him that he risked his arm and healthy that badly? Mina had her hands held together by her chest, praying and hoping that Izuku was alright. The excitement she had over his win over Bakugo quickly dying as he fell and wasn't moving. Toru sighed in relief that Uraraka was mostly alright, if not looked half a movement away from hurling, but was likewise worried over Izuku. Her nervous fidgeting from watching his fight with Bakugo evolving into full-blown panic. Momo looked on the screen with extreme worry and fright over the unconscious green bean. Her hand over heart tightly clenched. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Momo mentally chanted like a mantra. Mr. Aizawa is heading over there soon. Izuku is going to be fine. He's going to be fine. Please. Serena was overjoyed that Izuku had finally triumphed over Bakugo. Years of bullying and torture seemed for once justified by sweet karma. Then the joy drowned a violent death as she looked at Izuku's busted arms, his limping, bruised and burnt form, and then ultimately became horrified at Izuku's fall into unconsciousness. No. Oh, please get back up. Please be okay. Please be okay. Serena mentally shouted, practically just about ready to ran through those doors and run over there herself. Pikachu although had less restraint than her. As the moment Izuku hit the floor, it sped away in a trail of white towards its downed trainer. All Might turned to the principal of UA, his eyes shouting what he was going to do with or without his permission. The Pokemon hybrid principal nodding in unnecessary approval. A millisecond later and the students had strong winds blowing past them, as All Might ran past them and through the doors, faster than the eye could see. Nizu meanwhile looked back to the screens, his previously smiling face devoid of all humor and approval, now morphed into a neutral yet frowning expression as he gazed at the screens. More specifically at the unconscious body of Katsuki Bakugo. A few minutes later, the next few minutes went by in a blur for the students. Izuku and Bakugo, both still unconscious, were both carried to Recovery Girl's office for medical aid. The fainted and injured Pokemon likewise were returned to their Pokeballs and sent to be healed. All Might, Pikachu Aizawa watched the two carried off, with Pikachu and Aizawa notifying that they were going to accompany the two students, Eraser saying that he was going to have a talk with Bakugo when he wakes up. All Might almost pitied the poor boy at the hell he would be waking up to. Almost. Aizawa would also turn to All Might, threatening to do the same if he were to hear of any other overboard incidents with the other students. All Might's pity for the ash-blonde teen was fully pulled away, now mentally praying for not a repeat of what occurred. Now, the students huddled in front of the remaining two awake and alright students, Uraraka and Ida, as All Might and Nizu stood by the screen, which read Team A's victory over Team D. Well, despite the results, the MVP of this exercise is young Ida, All Might announced, much to the shock and surprise of the students, including Ida himself. Shouldn't it be one of the heroes since they won? Shui asked. Why yes, that is quite the conundrum, isn't it All Might? Nizu asked playfully towards the number one pro. Indeed sir. All Might replied. Why yes, a valid question. Why didn't I choose one of the winners? Who has a guess? Sir, I can tell why. Momo raised her hand replied. Among the four, Ida was the one who ultimately embraced his role the most. All Might and Nizu were silent as they let the Yaoyorozu heiress continue. I'll explain. Momo continued. Bakuga's judgment was clouded from some personal grudge against Izuku Midoriya, while his vicious assault, overboard as it was perfect for the role of a villain. His detonation of that large-scaled attack was foolish given his task to protect the weapon. The results, more specifically Midoriya's possible fatal injury and the potential harm of his teammate and weapon, would have been disastrous. While Midoriya embraced the self-sacrificing part of the role of hero and wisely exploited Bakuga's grudge over him, his plan was, similarly, poorly executed, given the amount of damage he sustained, leaving himself helpless. Additionally, his attacks towards Bakugo, including that final attack that ultimately knocked Bakugo out, were likewise overboard for a hero to commit, even though he clearly deserved it. Momo, Serena, Uraraka, Mina, and Toru all thought bitterly. Momo the most, as it hurt to criticize Izuku negatively but had to remain unbiased in her analysis. It's what Izuku would do. As for Uraraka, Momo jumped back into her analysis. Despite her coordination and clever combination with her Pokemon's powers, that ought to be commended, she let her guard down upon finding Ida, and her final attack was far too reckless given the hypothetical stakes. If she had treated the fake weapon as if it were real, she would have never reasonably have performed such an imprecise tactic, or could have used her Minior Psychic to have directed the debris towards Ida more effectively with little chance to hit the actual weapon. Damn it. Why didn't I think of that? Uraraka mentally berated herself. Ida, however, was fully prepared for his opponent's arrival. Momo said. He had a strategy, made excellent use of his Pokemon's abilities, and never lost sight of his mission to protect the dummy weapon, even if he was foiled in the end. Ida looked in awe and surprise of the praise, lifting his head with a humbly proud smile, a tiny embarrassed blush on his cheeks and comical stars around him and comical tears rolled down his face. While the hero team won, they took advantage of the reality that it was a training exercise, and ultimately failed to perform accordingly to the spirit of trial. Momo finished. The group looked at her in silent awe, while Mizu smiled wide, pleased and impressed. To this girl has a really good eye on her. All Might thought stunned, a bead of intimidated sweat down his brow. No wonder young Midoriya is so fond of her. Why yes, well, you may have overlooked a few things. All Might pointed out. Young Ida could have relaxed a little bit, and Midoriya's attack could have damaged the weapon on accident. But All Might gave a thumbs up to Yaoyorozu. Otherwise you nailed it. Momo nodded. I didn't want to admit that last one. I didn't want to criticize Izuku negatively anymore. Bravo, bravo, well done, Ms. Yaoyorozu, Mizu said. It should be no secret why you got in by recommendations. Same with Mr. Todoroki and Ms. Mariella. Mizu then turned to All Might. I shall leave the rest of exercise in your care, All Might. I'm afraid that my duties require me elsewhere. As Mizu left the group, All Might turned to the class. Alright, let's continue with the exercises. Step up your newbies and see which one of you is next. The next battle training was held in a different building inside Ground Beta, codenamed Battle Building B. Outside of the building were the next selected hero team of Shoto Todoroki and Mizo Shoji. Shoji's hero costume was blue and indigo suit that fit his large unique physique. The shoulder line of the suit was indigo, reaching and covering all of his neck to the below his eye line, covering most of his face. His white hair covering most of the rest too. The indigo of his suit met the blue of his suit in a wave-like pattern by his chest, with 6 white eye-like marking by his pectoral region. He wore an indigo belt around his waist, a yellow eye-like marking on the front, while wearing blue, slightly baggy pants, with indigo lines going down the sides of his pants. His sleeves were fully open, allowing his 6 large muscles and webbed arms free and unrestricted. By his side was a large octopus-like Pokemon named Graplocked. Todoroki's suit was far more plain than his teammates, consisting of only a pair of white pants and a white dress shirt with long sleeves, 2 gold-colored straps around his shoulders. That was the normal half of his costume. His left side was entirely covered in ice. Even the left side of his face was covered in ice, the area where his eye was open but showing an intimidating red eye. His left hand was the only part of his body that was ice-free. By his side stood a beautiful Alolan Ninetales. Match 2. All Might announced through the intercoms. Team B will be our heroes and Team C will be the villains. Inside Battle Building B, Momo finished setting up a few traps along the hallways near the weapon and was about to set up metal bars to block the door to the weapon area. Momo brought out her Pokeball from her belt and tossed it up, revealing a Togetic, chirping happily as it was released. Beside her, stretching her arms and legs, was Serena, now wearing large blue high-tech looking glasses that, in Serena's view, showed a HUD full of schematics and various numbers appearing. Think the specs and HUD mainframe that Tony Stark sees inside the Iron Man suit, and the style like a blue version of Team Flare Grunt's glasses but more advanced. Beside her was her Piplup that was pumping itself up by punching the air with its short blue flippers. "Shall we go over our plan again?" Serena asked as she tucked her necklace inside her suit. When the timer starts and the exercise begins, you wait a few seconds before going out quickly and distract the heroes till time runs out. Momo said as she created a coat. When you are out, make sure to steer clear of the traps as subtle as possible. Alright, but why wait around a few seconds and why the coat? Serena asked her teammate. Todoroki's quirk appears to have some properties involving ice, and if he got in on recommendations, then he must be powerful. Momo explained. While my hero suit as well as allowing me to use creation with ease, it also makes me rather easily susceptible to cold temperatures. Alright, you're the boss, Serena said. Let's do our best, Yamamoto. Just like Izu. Momo nodded, a smile of confidence on her. Look alive, kids. All Might announced once again. Show us you're the embodiment of good. Or evil. Let's go. The alarm sounded as the timer started. Over with the hero team. Shoji stepped inside the building, spreading his 6 webbed arms out, transforming the tips of his extra hands into ears, sensing and scanning the building with his ears. As Todoroki walked to him, one of the ears transformed into a mouth and spoke. Both of them are in a room on the 4th floor, probably where the weapon is. Both have shoes. Another one of his morphed ears turned into a mouth and spoke out. I hear 2 Pokemon with them. One is making flapping noises so it's flying and the other is waddling. I think they may be a Togetic and Piplup. I think one of them will come after us and stall us. For you and your Graplock's safety, go outside for a moment. Todoroki replied, walking forwards with his Ninetales. Once I'm done, come back in, be careful where you walk and stay close behind me. I'm sure our opponents want to fight a defensive battle, and Yaoyorozu must definitely have a plan. Todoroki lifted his right hand as cold misty air hissed out. The same with his feet, as he touched the wall next to him. But we already won. Instantly, the walls, floor, and roof of the hallway were covered and encased in ice. The ice spread from hallway to hallway, corridor to corridor. Shoji obeyed his teammate's order and stepped outside with Graplock to see that the ice was also spreading and encasing the entire building in seconds. Such power! Shoji mumbled in awe. Woohoo! Graplock cried out in agreement. Shit! Serena cursed as her feet were suddenly encased in ice. Piplups too, who was flapping its arms wildly in panic. I knew it, Momo said, as her own feet were covered too. She looked to the weapon and saw that it had very little ice on it, and was mostly intact. His quirk's power and range are more powerful than I imagined. Over with All Might and the other students, they were huddled up together, shivering and rubbing their bodies for warmth. He incapacitated them. W without compromising the weapon or his teammate. All Might stuttered out as he shivered from the cold. Take note of his technique, students. Present Mike, Shoto Todoroki. Another of the 5 admitted based on recommendations. Quirk. Half cold, half hot. His right side freezes. The other burns and heats up objects in his way. The perfect blend of fire and ice. Range and power. Unknown. Back over with the villain team. Togetic flew close to her trainer and cried in worry. I am fine, Togetic, don't worry. Momo eased her Pokemon before turning to her teammate. Think you can get us out of this, Mariella? Please call me Serena, Serena said in reply, smiling cheekily. As for your question, no need to worry, I got this. Geez, what a stroke of luck, pairing me against a foe that uses ice, aka frozen water. Serena held out her hands, and the ice that encased their feet, as well as most of the floor, was dissolving into water. Serena held out her hands, and the water coiled and flowed to her hands and sides of her suit. The blue, crystal-like lines tracing her suit glowing as more water was being stored up. Flashback. 2 months ago. Use water from ice? Serena asked. She and Izuku stood by bench as they walked the snow fall from the late January sky. Yeah, ice is essentially just frozen water molecules condensed into a solidified state, Izuku said as he held an open notebook in his hands. It may be solidified, but the water molecules are still there and moving, we just can't see them. And since your quirk manipulates and controls any hydrogen dioxide molecules, you could theoretically be able to manipulate the ones that are frozen inside the ice, by making them move around faster, causing heat and energy to build up, enough for the ice to dissolve and turn back into water. Serena looked at Izuku shell-shocked at how he analyzed and deduced a possible factor of her quirk that even she, in almost 15 years, hasn't. Actually, you could probably manipulate snow and blood too, more easily than ice even, since snow isn't as solid as ice and blood is still in liquid form. Izuku continued. You could probably even manipulate the water molecules in the air and form them into water, almost like you were conjuring water out of thin air like magic. Easy there, Izu. Serena claimed, the excited green beam down. Don't throw so much stuff on me so fast. I'm only a regular human, not someone with a supercomputer for a brain. Sorry. Izuku apologized. He paused as he looked around and said, Wait, I got it. Got what? How to get a handle on your incomprehensible, yet adorable muttering, Serena teased. And no, not that, Izuku said, blushing. I mean how to figure out if you can manipulate ice and snow. Huh, Serena said, her eyebrow raised in confusion. How? Izuku threw his arms out. Look around. Serena did as her best friend said and widened her eyes as he recalled the ice and snow all around them. Oh, duh, Serena. Serena smacked her forehead and said, You should probably start small. Izuku muttered as he looked around before locking eyes with a small pile of snow next to them. Like there. You could try to manipulate the water from that pile of snow and see if you can draw it out or move the snow. I don't know, Serena muttered, unsure. You think that I can really do it? Of course I do, Izuku practically shouted to her, his eyes full of confidence. You can do anything you set your mind to. Just believe in yourself, believe that you can do it. Because I believe you can do it too. Serena stared at Izuku in amazement, a blush on her cheeks. He smiled and steeled her eyes. Okay. I'll give it a try. Do or do not. There is no try, Izuku said. Huh, where did you learn that? Serena asked. Izuku smiled. A mentor of mine who said he got it from his mentor. Now quit stalling and do it. Okay, Serena said. She stood and turned to the pile of snow. She brought her hand out of her glove and lifted her hand toward the pile of snow. Remember, concentrate, Izuku whispered into her ear, making Serena blush more at the close proximity and his breath in her ear. Concentrate on the water molecules inside the snow. Serena breathed deeply and exhaled, activating her quirk toward the pile of snow. Concentrate on the water inside, right there, frozen, but it's still moving just like the water you moved before. Water is everywhere and you control it all. Not even it or the cold can keep you from it. Serena pushed hard, feeling the water molecules still moving but slowly, but then start to move fast and faster, the solid state they were in suddenly much lighter and more flexible. You did it! She heard Izuku yelled. When Serena opened her eyes again, they widened in amazement. The pile of snow had dissolved and formed into a swirling bubble of water. She lost her concentration in her amazement and it dropped to the ground in a wet slap. I did it, Serena asked in surprise. You did it, Izuku replied in assuredness. I did it, Serena muttered as she took in the reality of what she did. You did it, Izuku said with more volume in his voice. I did it, Serena yelled out too before hugging Izuku in a tight hug. Izuku was frozen for a minute before hugging back. Serena shed tears in joy. Thank you, Izu. She whispered in loving gratitude. Flashback over. Thank you, Izu. Serena mentally repeated her words from back then. You helped me discover more of myself and helped me grow stronger. Now I will use what you helped teach me and give it my all, just like you. As the last of the water was stored inside her suit and the ice around the door was dissolved, Serena said, All right, I'm off. Wish me luck. Serena and Piplup bolted out of the room, Momo quickly closing the door and started sealing it with iron bars. Serena slid down the icy hallways by turning the ice into water, while Piplup slid down the ice on its belly. Whoa, did she turn his ice into water? Kaminari shouted in surprise. All Might nodded saying, Indeed she has. Her hydrokinesis quirk allows her to control the water molecules around her to bend water to her will. Young Todoroki's quirk super cooled the water molecules in the air until they froze, but Serena's quirk allows her to move those molecules, the movement heating the frozen over water and eventually dissolving back into water that she could use. So in reality, Todoroki's attack in the end turned the entire building into the perfect environment for her quirk to work. Okoyami said, if her quirk can manipulate water in the air, then she would still have been useful. But now that the area is covered in ice, Mariella has now the advantage in the battle. Ida deduced. Truly impressive resourcefulness. She also took advantage of the fact that we didn't know much about her quirk since she also just arrived, Shuri said, giving her the element of surprise. Eventually, Serena turned a corner to find Todoroki, Shoji, and their Pokemon, all of whom appeared surprised at her arrival and quirk. There you are, Serena mentally yelled. Serena roared as she and Piplup surfed towards them, waving her arms forward as a wave of concentrated water shot towards them. So Mr. Bakugu, it appears that you have become quite the troublemaker, Nizu spoke. And in just 2 days. Bakugu sat in a chair facing the principal of UA in his office. His eyes wide, hollow, and expressionless as he remembered how he got here. The explosive teen regained consciousness a few minutes ago in the nurse's room. His body still clothed in his suit, with the exception of his gauntlets. As he awoke, he was confused as to why he was in the infirmary or why he had a throbbing ache in the back of his head. As he saw the passed-out Deku that laid in the bed next to him, the memories of the battle training exercise came flooding back to him. Him chasing a taunting Deku, unleashing his gauntlet's explosions, getting yelled at by All Might. His and Deku's fight. And lastly Deku's last attack before he passed out. He was knocked out, defeated, by Deku. By quirkless, worthless, useless Deku. Bakugu was consumed in unbridled rage and fury that he almost attacked the likewise unconscious teen, only to be stopped by a seriously pissed-off Eraserhead. Katsuki Bakugu, I don't have to try too hard to remember what I warned you about, Eraserhead said. After all, it was just yesterday. Pikachu jumped onto Deku's bed, blocking Bakugu from Deku, glaring at his eyes with hate, electricity sparking off of the electric mouse Pokemon. I warned you what would happen if you tried a stunt like that again, but you pulled off something even worse than before. Eraser continued. You were warned to not use deadly force on your opponents, yet you chose to disobey orders and used a move that would have assuredly killed Midoriya, if not leave him in critical condition. And your reason to use it was, it will be fine as long as he dodges. Bakugu growled in rage and yelled back. So what if I used that move? Stupid Deku's fine. I was just showing who is stronger and why he was not supposed to be he dash. Bakugu was cut off as his body was wrapped in Eraserhead's scarf. Bakugu froze as Eraser's glowing red, angry eyes were inches away from his. So you think that you know better than the us teachers and staff on who should be here or not? Eraserhead questioned accusingly. You think you know better than me, who already expelled one of you for not being suited to be a hero yet? I would suggest that you choose your next words carefully, because as far as I see it, Someone who would disobey orders and attack one's enemy fatally with no remorse, and endangers and attacks the lives of his comrades for a grudge is not hero material either. Bakugo gritted his teeth but remained silent. Good, shutting up is, most likely, the only way that you get to stay here at UA. Eraser continued. I told you before that this school is to train the next generation of heroes. What do you believe heroes are? Because if you say that they those who are the strongest and can do whatever they want, then I will expel you here and now. Heroes are meant to be servants and protectors of the public. If you used that gauntlet explosion in a civilian population because you were mad or desperate to win, would the property damage and casualties that occur be a service and protection to the public? Heroes are meant to apprehend and deliver villains to the police to pay for the actions, because we do not stoop to their levels. We use deadly force if it is the absolute last resort to subdue them and save civilians. So what does that make you, who used an attack that would have caused fatal injury, just to prove a point against someone you don't like? Bakugo teeth were grinding so hard that it was a wonder that they didn't break. He was about to snap back when Eraserhead said, You said that Midoriya is fine. Does he look fine to you? Bakugo froze as he looked towards Deku on the hospital bed. Deku's suit was covered in burns and scorch marks. His right arm was bandaged. His left arm was barely healed from the burns of his last attack, and his exposed leg was red and slightly swollen. Bakugo's eyes widened in shock as the memory of the fight replayed in his mind. Bakugo remembered how when Deku performed the powerful attack that destroyed the roof, his arm swelled purple and looked broken, just like his finger. Bakugo thought. His finger broke when he showed the same power. That means that he was holding back. Does that mean Deku beat me? While holding back, Bakugo felt like he was hyperventilating, panting like crazy. He was snapped out of his trance by Eraserhead. Since you are not answering, I am to assume that you don't have some loud retort to say? Eraser said. Bakugo said nothing. Fine, if that's the case. Then you can see just how much trouble you are in for going too far in what was a training exercise. Eraser continued. Normally, I would have no qualms expelling you right here and now. Bakugo took a sharp breath of panic. But, for right now, Principal Nizu wants to speak with you in his office. I guess the rat will decide your fate, whether you stay at UA or not. Now Bakugo sat in the presence of UA's infamous Principal Nizu. His blank and frowning expression would have made Bakugo quiver. However, all Bakugo could think of, his wide eyes shadowed by his hair, was the same thought over and over. Deku was holding back. He was holding back. Does that mean, if we fought for real, Deku would still beat me? Let's review what has got you into so much trouble in just 2 short days, shall we? Nizu continued, ignoring Bakugo's lack of response. The first day you performed and showed impressive use of your quirk, but when Mr. Midoriya tossed the ball in Aizawa's assessment tests, you blatantly ran towards Midoriya, your demeanor and activation of your quirk suggesting that your intent was to cause harm towards him. Now if I'm not mistaken, I was sure the assessment test was to see how far one could throw a ball, not attempt to cause harm to your fellow students outside of training. Is that right? Bakugo continued to remain silent. And now today, during what was a battle training exercise, which both me and Aizawa witnessed as well, you attempted to use a clearly lethal use of force against Mr. Midoriya, despite being given verbal warning by All Might to not do such a thing. Nizu continued. To your credit, this was a battle training exercise. It would be foolish to expect of future heroes in training to not inflict harm on your opponents. Heroes are trained to combat criminals and villains for the sake of public safety. However, your use of your stored-up power in your gauntlets was clearly an extremely dangerous and deadly attack that would have caused massive, if not lethal, injuries towards Mr. Midoriya, along with risking the health and safety of not only your fellow opponent, Ms. Uraraka, and your teammate, Mr. Ida, but as well as risk the destruction of the faux weapon that you were instructed in said exercise to protect. Bakugo gritted his teeth and clenched his fists tightly at having his mistakes thrown in his face. Overall, it is clear that by your aggressive attitude and temperament, your attack on Mr. Midoriya was either a show of your intent to cause harm towards Midoriya, without care for his life, and your judgment clouded by a grudge, or incompetence and lack of control or awareness of your quirk's power and lethality. Mizu explained. Bakugo wished he could retort back but just remained quiet as the Pokemon-looking principal continued on. Now, the latter conclusion could be the one with the harshest penalty. Mizu revealed. You are still a young man. Mistakes and failures in one's judgment are to be anticipated. However, that would not compute given your impressive show and use of your quirk in Aizawa's quirk assessment tests. It is clear that you have an impressive knowledge and practice over your quirk that the only way for you to use such an attack, despite warning and possible fatal injury of your classmate, would be through clouded judgment through anger. So tell me, Mr. Bakugo, prove me wrong. Which conclusion do you believe is the right one? Bakugo responded with silence. I take it by your silence that you know the answer already. Mizu said. I'm sure you have already been told this by Mr. Aizawa, but UA's goal and purpose towards the hero course is to guide, teach, and train those who wish to become pro-heroes, to transform them into the greatest heroes that will be tasked to defend our society and people, and to be a shining example towards others. Tell me, Mr. Bakugo, do you believe that all the faults I have listed are truly of someone who can be seen as a shining example for others, or as a hero? Silence is what Mizu was met with. I see, Mizu said. I also have the suspicion that you believe that those who are the best pros are the strongest, like All Might. I know this because I could overheard your words to Midoriya. Bakugo flinched. While it is not an untrue statement, when Mr. Midoriya fought back against you and held his own against you, you seemed to explode and lash out in rage. Tell me, if you were a pro and you were shown up by another who was perhaps stronger than you, would you lash out and attack him to prove yourself stronger? If this were to occur multiple times, would you lash out at civilians who would claim that said pro is stronger than you? Bakugo growled at the very thought of that occurring. If so, I would ask that you look at this video recording of the exercise held after yours and Midoriya's. Mizu said as he pushed a button. A holographic screen appearing showing footage of Shoto Todoroki covering the entire building in ice, and of Serena Mariella manipulating and attacking Todoroki and Shoji with a large amount of water. Bakugo's eyes widened in shock and despair at the sight of these powerful quirks, with the users more competent and powerful than even him. In this school, we have a great many students that are equally, if not superior, to your strength, Mizu said. There is no special treatment here towards the strong or the weak, and all are treated equally and fairly. We will not look at you and your quirk as anything overtly special, or will let any incident slide in favor of one particularly talented student. Bakugo lowered his head, expecting to hear that he would be expelled. In any other event, I would and still have cause to expel you from UA, special or not. However, given that this took place in a battle training exercise, this can be excused. Bakugo's eyes widened in surprise. Your task in said exercise was to defend the foe weapon and to incapacitate or capture the hero team to win, which you attempted to do to the best of your ability. Mizu explained. Your use of deadly force despite warning can be excused as disobedience and poor use of judgment and restraint, issues that can be rectified with further training and discipline. As for apparent grudge towards Midoriya, I will make this 100% clear to you. Bakugo went pale at the amount of seriousness that Mizu showed. Bullying and harassment are 100% unacceptable and will not be tolerated in any shape and form. If you intend to commit any such actions, or attempt to maim another student fatally in the future, you will be met with the appropriate punishment. Since you have already committed 2 violations as per this meeting, up to which including attempted, unauthorized assault of a classmate and disobeying a teacher's warning and near attempt of fatal injury of the same classmate, one more step out of line could result in appropriate disciplinary action, such as suspension to outright expulsion. Do I make myself clear? Bakugo, shaking in actual fear, nodded and spoke out. Why, sir? Excellent, Mizu said, the dead seriousness suddenly vanishing in place of Mizu's happy self. Oh, and as for your punishment for your action thus far, you will be given 2 weeks detention, and to work out your anger and explosive temperament, you will be having regular anger management training with our resident head of security and therapist, Mr. Hounddog, until such time he sees fit to excuse you. Here is the paperwork for parents, which you give to your homeroom teacher first thing tomorrow morning. You may be excused back to your classes. Why yes, sir. Bakugo said as he grabbed the sheet of paper and walked to the door. One last thing, Katsuki Bakugo. Bakugo froze at Nizu's words. I trust that we will not find ourselves in this situation again, yes? Why yes, sir. Bakugo replied as he walked out. As soon as Bakugo left, Nizu pulled out from his drawer 2 folders. One labeled, Katsuki Bakugo, Class 1A, for number 17 foot, and the other labeled, Izuku Midoriya, Class 1A, number 18. Nizu opened the folders, reviewing the background information of Katsuki Bakugo and Izuku Midoriya from their time at Aldera Junior High. More specifically, Bakugo's suspiciously perfect clean record and Midoriya's rather sloppy one. My, it appears that someone has been rather dishonest about certain students, Nizu said to himself. It appears that I have some work to do. That's a wrap, folks. All Might announced as he faced the students of Class 1A. All of their battle training exercises complete. Super work, everyone. You all really stepped up to the plate and gave it your all. And we didn't have any major injuries except for Midoriya and Bakugo. You should be proud your Pokemon too. Excellent work. It's nice to hear some encouraging words after yesterday, Shui said. Mr. Aizawa was kind of a buzzkill. At the memory of their homeroom teacher and the expulsion of one of their own on the first day of school, several of the students nodded in agreement, a fearful, anxious aura over them. Haha, I am proud to bring such staggering positivity to my alma mater. All Might dramatically yelled as he threw his hands out. All Might suddenly paused as he looked over towards his left, a weird buzzing sound and feeling emanating from beside them. For a brief moment, he saw a shape of what he thought was. All Might, sir, are you okay? Serena asked. All Might quickly realized his spacing and replied, Yes, I am fine. Thank you for your concern, Ms. Mariella. Well, that's all for now, folks. I should go check on young Midoriya's and Bakugo's progress. Now watch as a pro exits. Like he was somewhere to be. All Might sprinted down the hall they first walked out of, blowing dust and wind towards the class. Okay guys, that is a hero, Kaminari proclaimed excitingly. Oh man, I'll never be able to run that fast. Jiro whined. As All Might ran, he thought of Izuku and Bakugo. I cannot let my closeness with Midoriya affect my actions and responsibilities as a teacher. As much as it pains me to help who I believe is Izuku's main bully and tormentor, I cannot convict the boy without proper evidence. As such, he is my responsibility too as his teacher. He remembered Bakugo's rage at Izuku's insults and how angry he got when Izuku landed a hit on him. Young Bakugo is overflowing with pride. While his quirk is impressive, an ego like that is bound to shatter under UA. I will do my best for the moment to counsel him as I would any student. But that will have to wait. All Might started to cough, the side of his face hissing out steam. He quickly found a door that said, Staff only, and rushed inside. All Might entered and shut the door swiftly, panting tiredly. I can't maintain this form any longer. All Might was enveloped in steam and out popped the deflated symbol of peace. His hero suit baggy under 3 sizes too big for the skeletal man. I barely have time to teach a class. All Might's thoughts turned towards the weird feeling he got before. Back then, what was that? Could it have been a vestige like Master talked about? No, it didn't feel like one for all acting up. And that shape looked familiar. For a moment. Was that young Midoriya? Izuku's eyes opened to find himself in a blank void. What happened? He thought. The voice of his thoughts reverberated throughout this empty plain. Izuku groggily sat up, his entire body covered in a bluish-green halo. Izuku looked at his arms, both normal and intact. But I could have sworn that I broke my right arm before. And the other one? Was it burnt by Bakugo? Izuku attempted to stand up, flinching in pain. He looked to the source of his pain, his right leg, which seemed to pulsate and glow at a dimmer light than the rest of his body. It ached and flared in pain. My leg. But why? Izuku questioned. Washington smash. Izuku recalled the memory of his final attack on Bakugu and the two Pokemon. Right, Izuku mused. I used that move and took out Bakugu, Kalava, and Lucario. I remembered I sprained it a little, but it wasn't as damaged as my arms. So why is my leg still hurt while my arms are fine? Better question, where am I? As Izuku asked this question, a sharp sensation flared in his mind, and the once empty void flared to life. The empty void grew shape and color, though it was different. He appeared to be in Recovery Girl's office from the layout, and he could see Recovery Girl's shape a few feet away. But her body was colored blue while the rest of the office was dark and black, blue lines tracing the outlines of the room and its objects. Eraserhead was also in the room, leaning against the wall. His form too only a blue-colored shape. The air fizzled and hissed in waves like static. Izuku towards in front of him, to see Eevee lay next to his body, with Eevee's form and color the same. Eevee looked asleep and healthy but was fidgeting as if it were about to awake. Pikachu was likewise in the room, leaning by the wall with Eraserhead, with its body too normal compared to Eraser and Recovery Girl. What is going on? Izuku asked. Suddenly, Izuku's body felt dragged from Recovery Girl's room, his body hovering as he passed through dark hallways of UA. Along the path, he could hear an angry voice shouting, "Damn it! Damn it! How could I have lost to Deku?" Izuku looked towards the sound to see a blue figure with Bakuga's shape and form, walking down a hallway. As Izuku looked to the teen, he could see a mass of red and black mist around Bakugu, as if he was emitting the mist itself. When Izuku focused on the mist, it felt vile and noxious, raging hatred and fear emanating from the mist. Before Izuku could elaborate further, he was dragged away from the area, once more soaring through the shadowy landscape of UA. He could see a group of people huddled around and facing a single large figure. Izuku recognized many of his classmates through their unique appearances, including Serena, Momo, Ida, Uraraka, Mina, and Toru. Izuku looking around in confusion and panic. Why is this happening? What is going on? Izuku thought in panic. Izuku would notice many different types of mists surrounding his classmates, both in color and how Izuku felt when focusing on them. On Serena, Momo, and Toru, the blue-grayish mist around them felt sad, disappointed, and sullen even to Izuku. Others were purple and felt worried or fearful, like on Uraraka and Ida. Others yellow and cheerful like Mina. Izuku turned to see that All Might was among the group. His shape and color the same too, yet it felt weaker, parts of All Might's colored form fading into blue, most especially around his wound. All Might perked up and looked to Izuku's direction as if he sensed him. Just before Izuku was about to call out to All Might, he was pulled from the place was once again. Izuku suddenly found himself in an empty plain, a single blue line on the ground. Izuku, drawn in by a feeling, walked down the line. After what felt like a minute, the line split into two, each of them going opposite directions. Izuku looked to his right and saw a large tree, old and dead, snow falling down off its branches. Izuku looked to the right and saw another tree, this one alive and bright, but as he looked closer, it looked like it made of solid crystals. Izuku felt a presence behind him and turned to face it. The presence had his back turned to him, showing only to Izuku to white lab coat and his long white hair. Izuku was silent as he watched in confusion. As he took a step and reached out to the mysterious person, the man turned facing Izuku. His face was shadowed by his white hair, and the last thing Izuku saw, before the world was consumed in light, was an amulet around his neck. A green orb amulet, surrounded in a golden crossed gate with 18 multicolored gems that shine like light itself. Izuku gasped. His eyes snapped open as he stood up from the bed he laid in. "Good, you're awake," Izuku heard and turned to the voice's recipient. "Oh my boss!" /Izuku. Pikachu and a now awakened Eevee yelled as they jumped and hugged him, one which the green-haired successor of All Might returned. "Easy there, dearies. Recovery Girl stated as rolled her chair towards Izuku. Don't make him strain his injuries. What happened? Izuku asked. What time is it? It's late afternoon, All Might said. You passed after your fight with Bakugo. You've been recovering since then. Late afternoon? Izuku asked loudly. Yes, late afternoon. Recovery Girl stated as she poked Izuku's head with her needle cane. That's what happens when you push yourself too hard. Your arms were a mess and your right arm is still not fully healed. You even injured that leg of yours with that final kick. Izuku flinched. Alright. Are Uraraka and Ida okay? Bakugo too. All Might stared at Izuku stunned. You mean after all you went through and him nearly killing you, you still are worried for him? Izuku nodded. Bahaha. All Might burst out laughing. I say, young Midoriya, you really are something else. Yeah, crazy is what he is. Pikachu said. I leave you two alone for 15 minutes and both of you nearly die and you boss end up getting both your arms and your leg hurt. Izuku and Eevee rubbed their heads in embarrassment. Whether the boy is insane or not, you have nothing to worry about, dearie. Recovery Girl said. Your friends are all right and didn't sustain any injuries worth healing. As for Bakugo, you did quite a number on him as well. A slight concussion from that collision at the end and a broken rib from that collision with those Pokemon. Nothing that I couldn't fix. Izuku sighed in relief. His conscience still a little guilt for inflicting that pain. So where is Bakugo? Did he already leave with Aizawa? He woke up a while ago. Recovery Girl replied. Aizawa gave him quite the talk before sending him to Nizu. More importantly, young Midoriya, how did you know that Aizawa was here? All Might noted. The group was for a moment silent in realization before turning to the green-haired team. Izuku revealed all the details he could remember from the weird experience. The reactions from the four were, suffice to say, confused. Eevee and Pikachu frowned and looked at their trainer with concern and confusion, while Recovery Girl frowned and gained a pondering look on her face. All Might, meanwhile, was surprised and shocked, the look on his face bordering between realization and disbelief. It was weird, Izuku said. It felt like I was in a dream, but at the same time I felt as if I were fully alert. Like I could sense and feel even the tiniest sounds and motions. Izuku looked up to see the reactions of the group and sighed. You guys don't believe me, do you? No, that's not the case, young Midoriya. All Might reassured his successor. We are all just trying to understand and process this information. All Might, could this be something to do with One for All? Izuku asked. I'm not sure, young Midoriya. All Might answered truthfully. From what my predecessor told me, One for All has been a mystery to even its past holders, including me. What you described is something that hasn't happened to any past holder, as far as we know of. Izuku sighed. His shoulders slumped as he felt disappointed at the unsatisfying answer. But hey, this is something that we can figure out later. All Might continued, bringing Izuku's attention back to him. Right now, you're awake and we should probably get you back to your classes before the day is out. I'm sure your friends are worried sick over you. Oh yeah, right, Izuku said, his face suddenly shifting to one of horror. Oh god, Serena is going to kill me for what happened. Pikachu and Eevee hissed and shivered at the memory of what a pissed of Serena was capable of. Well, we wouldn't want your girlfriend to get too upset with you, now would we? Recovery Girl answered rhetorically. Let's get you fixed up. Essa Shizen, not my G-girlfriend. Izuku protested, blushing till he looked like a tomato. Izuku was healed up a bit more by Recovery Girl before being sent off with a reminder to revisit tomorrow for a further checkup. After a while after Izuku and his Pokemon left had passed, Recovery Girl turned to the skeletal form of the symbol of peace and said, You were holding out on something, weren't you? I know you well enough to know that you were hiding something from the boy. When Midoriya told me that he saw me in his class, the way he described it was the exact same time when I sensed a presence watching us. All Might replied honestly. I thought it felt familiar, like it was maybe one of the vestiges. But if it was young Midoriya, then it must have been something else. Or Aura, perhaps. Recovery Girl pondered. It would explain how I was able to sense him. All Might said. The lingering flames of One for All, that I still have in me, must have helped me sense his presence. Have you ever experienced something similar? Recovery Girl asked once more. All Might gave a simple answer. No. And that's what worries me. Izuku walked down the hallways of UA, still clothed in the tattered remnants of his hero suit. Pikachu and Eevee walking beside him as he made his way to Class 1A. I missed all my afternoon classes, Izuku muttered. Mr. Aizawa is probably going to choke me with his scarf. Nah, don't worry so much, boss, Pikachu replied. He looked more worried about you. Plus, I'm pretty sure that he was more pissed at Bakugo for his stunt on you. Although he did mutter problem child a lot when he was looking at you, to be revealed. Izuku flinched and rubbed his neck at the name. Izuku looked at his right arm, still in a cast. I ended up going 100% again. Even after all my training in learning how to use it safely, I still broke my arm by going all out. And what's worse, I got my other arm hurt without even using One for All and sprained my leg even. Izuku remembered the hours of training with Gran Torino prior to the entrance exam and learning full cowling. What's the point of all this if I end up breaking my limbs in the end anyway? His thoughts turned to that of his mother. And how am I going to face my mom like this? If I keep this up, I fear that she will have a heart attack one of these days. I can't do that to her. Izuku stopped as he stood outside Class 1A. At the memory of an angry Serene, Izuku shivered in fear before shaking his head. Well, time to face the music. Izuku slid the door open and was immediately met with a response. Izuku! Izuku was crushed into a hug. His blushing face pulled into a pair of breasts, and he knew by the scent of her perfume that the hugger was Serena. Oh, and her voice as she yelled at him while hugging him. Izuku! You idiot! 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 I leave you alone for one day and you break your finger. I leave you again and now you end up with your arms and leg broken. I was so worried about you, you idiot. Don't do that again. It's okay, Serena. Izuku's voice mumbling came out of her cushiony pillows. Recovery Girl healed me up alright. I'm alright. After managing to break free from Serena's hug, trying to wipe away the furious blush from his cheeks, he was met by a group of his fellow classmates as they took notice of his arrival. Hey Midobro. Good to see you back, Super. Kirishima said, making pumped-up motions with his fists. Man, I don't know what you were saying back there, but you were so awesome. Dodging and fighting back and that super awesome powerful attack at the end. It was so manly. You held your own and even beat Bakugo, who's super strong. Nice work, dude. Zero said. By the way, the name's Hanta Zero. Nice to formally meet ya. You and Uraraka were so focused and fired up in that match that none of yous held back in our rounds too. Sato joined in. Thanks for the inspiration. Oh, and Sato's the name. Good to meet you. I'm Yuga Aoyama, and I must say your fight was far from elegant. What with those broken limbs? Aoyama popped in. But I must say that it was rather dash. Midori. Aoyama was cut off as Izuku was collided into and hugged by a certain pink alien-looking girl. You were amazing back there, Midori. I'm so super-duper glad that you are alright. Mina said as she hugged the broccoli-headed teen. Her arms wrapped around Izuku and rubbing her cheeks onto his own blushing ones. Did the mean Bakugo hurt you so bad? Don't worry, Mama Mina is here to soothe those boo-boos away from my Midori. My Midori? Izuku thought confused, as his face looked like a tomato as he felt Mina's breasts press on his arm. Izi. Izuku heard Tora's voice as he felt a body press onto him from his right. You are all right. I was so worried about you. I nearly had a heart attack when you used that powerful punch. Why do you always insist one breaking your arms in a fight? I am sorry, Toru. Izuku managed to speak. I was just dash. Hey Toru, don't you think that you are a little too close to Midori? Mina interrupted, herself smiling but her eye twitching. He just got back from the infirmary. We don't want to send him back because you hugged him too hard. As if you are one to talk. Toru replied. You are doing the same as I am. Plus Izzy and I are friends. He doesn't mind my closeness. Midori and I are friends too. Mina responded. And my hugs are known to make people feel better. Hey, if anyone gets to hug Izu, it's me. Serena yelled jealousy as she hugged Izuku from behind. Izuku blushing even hotter. He and I were friends far longer than the rest of you. We are far closer. Oh yeah, he was very close when you were smothering him in your boobs, Serena. Toru replied. As the three struggled for control of Izuku, the guys looked on with sweat drops. Oh man, sorry Midobro, but even I can't help you when Mina's all motherly. Kirishima thought. Especially when it's to someone that she really likes. I feel like we just got sidelined here. Zero thought. Man, the little guy certainly got popular with the girls quick. Otto thought. Lucky man. She stole my flair. Again. Aoyama thought bitterly. Girls please, let go of Izuku this instant. He is in no shape for such action. Izuku turned to see Momo coming towards them. Please think of Izuku's feelings before your own. The girls immediately responded as they let go of Izuku. I'm so sorry, Izu. Serena apologized. Yeah, sorry Midori, guess we got too carried away. Mina jumped in with her own apology. Sorry, easy. Toru apologized as well. It's okay girls really. Izuku replied. You guys were just worried. I understand and appreciate it. Izuku turned to Momo and smiled gratefully. Thank you, Momo. I'm sorry if I worried you too. Momo walked up to Izuku and gave him a tiny flick to the forehead. You better be. I was worried sick over you that I barely concentrated all throughout class. Momo then smiled and brought Izuku into a hug of her own. I'm glad you are all right, Izuku. Izuku blushed furiously once again. The other girls grumbling behind him jealously. As Momo and Izuku broke up their hug, Izuku heard, Glad to see you are all right, Midoriya. Izuku turned to see another of his female classmates. Tsuyu, standing to his right by the guys. You had us all worried. Thanks, Izuku mumbled. Oh yeah, I guess we didn't formally talk to each other either. Azui pondered before holding her hand out. I'm Tsuyu, but please call me Tsu. Nice to meet you. Izuku smiled as he shook the frog girl's hand. Izuku Midoriya. By the way, I got asked, how did you learn to dodge that well? Shui said. Your jumping and dodging skills were impressive. Oh, Izuku muttered, trying to come up with a lie that didn't reveal his training by All Might. His Pokemon and Gran Torino. I got some of my help from Pikachu and Eevee. They are so good at dodging with their speed that I tried to emulate them. Plus, I took notes on some of All Might's Cinderace moves. Think you can help teach me those sometime? Shui asked. I'm sure we can both learn some more moves. What with my quirk being good with my legs. You are sure? That sounds great, Izuku said. His eyes brightening at the thought of more training. By the way, what's your quirk? I'm guessing it has to do with amphibian Pokemon. As both green-haired teens talked, the four girls looked on with jealous narrowed eyes. Don't tell me I've got another rival, the girls thought. The guys stared at the green cinnamon roll in surprise. Did he just snag another girl? This guy is crazy good, the guys thought. Pikachu and Eevee meanwhile watched the interactions, the electric mouse laughing like a madman. Ahaha. Oh, the boss will never know how funny this shit is. Pikachu laughed out. Funny as it is, at least Izuku's making friends, Eevee said smiling. Have you ever seen him this sociable before, Serena? Pikachu stopped laughing as he watched his partner talk and interact with his classmates, smiling brightly and warmly. Pikachu too smiled. No, never had. Pikachu replied. Wasn't around when he was still friends with that blonde douche. All I saw was him getting laughed at and beat up. Eevee sadly remembered those times, being a recipient of the ridicule from the Pokemon of their trainers, most especially Kalava, or Cyndaquil as he was before. Still, if he had to withstand all those years of bullying and ridicule to get where he is now, happy and working towards his goal, I'd say it was worth it. I guess, Pikachu said. Kyuka watched the scene from afar while she conversed with Tokoyami and Ojiro. Greenie sure has gotten popular, especially with the girls. Kyuka thought as she saw right through the girls' actions. She looked towards their target of affection, Izuku Midoriya, who was smiling as he agreed to train and show his grapple moves from before with Kirishima. Although, he is kinda cute. Ugh, so noisy. Tokoyami muttered as he watched the scene too, along with Izuku's bright smile. And so bright, it hurts. Tokoyami! Ida came running from nowhere shouting. Get off of that desk this instant. Stop using it as a chair. Dude, you need to chill out. Kyuka suggested to the engine quirk user. Are you carrying a lot of tension there, man? Jiro asked. Do none of you get it? Ida questioned as he shook before shouting out. I cannot abide when others disrespect school property. Not when others, our upperclassmen, have once used them. Also noisy. Tokoyami grumbled. Ida never relaxes, does he? Izuku thought. The other door to the classroom opened as Kaminari and Uraraka walked out, both of them carrying stacks of books. So, anyway, wanna grab a bite to eat sometime? Kaminari asked. What kind of stuff you like? Well, anything sweet but Odeku. Uraraka noticed her injured teammate and ran over to him, leaving behind a disappointed Kaminari behind. Are you alright? Oh hey Uraraka. Izuku greeted his friend. Yeah, I'm alright. More importantly, what about you? I heard you were a little nauseous after the fight. Oh, I'm alright. Uraraka waved off his concerns with a blush, much to the suspicious stares of the girls. It's just a side effect of my quirk. If I use it too much, I get motion sick. Oh, like when you threw up during the training exam? Izuku asked as he remembered the rainbow puke Uraraka hurled out. Exactly, Uraraka said. By the way, why are you still injured? Surely Recovery Girl could have healed you enough to not need a cast. Oh well, it's all based on how much stamina I used up. Izuku answered. I used quite a lot of energy and stamina back in the fight that Recovery Girl doesn't want me passing out or dying by healing me too much. Oh, I guess that makes sense. Uraraka nodded. Speaking of healing, is Minnie okay? I didn't see her or Lucario when I woke up. Izuku asked. She's alright, Uraraka answered. New shell and everything. Thanks for the concern. I see Eevee is doing well too. Eevee! The group heard Eevee cheer. So cute! Toru screeched as she hugged the evolution Pokemon tightly, much to his embarrassment and the group's enjoyment. Ida noticed finally Izuku and said, Midoriya. The blue-haired teen walked over. I'm glad to see that you are awake and doing well. I am sorry for my teammates' actions during the exercise. Ida bowed towards his classmate. I should have reeled him in from doing something so despicable towards you. Oh, it's fine Ida, you don't need to apologize to me. Izuku reassured Ida. You couldn't have controlled or reeled in Bakugo any better than I have tried. In fact, I should be apologizing for injuring your Lucario so much. Apology not need either, Ida replied. Me and Lucario both took it as a lesson to learn from. In fact, I'm sure he wishes to send you and your Eevee his congratulations on winning the fight. Wait, you can understand your Lucario? Izuku asked, wondering if Ida might have some connection to his Pokemon like with him and his Pokemon. As much as any trainer can understand one's Pokemon, Ida answered. Lucario can often translate his thoughts into my mind using his aura. In fact, he claims that you have a strong aura about you too. That's why he found it hard to read you, especially with Bakugo's rage clouding his senses. Izuku was about to ask further about what Lucario meant, but noticed that Bakugo's seat was empty and there was no sign of him. Hey guys, do you guys know where Bakugo is? The group frowned at the mention of the explosive blonde, Serena, Momo, Mina, and Ida frowning the most, but Uraraka answered with, he just left after he came back from the principal's office. We tried to stop and talk to him, but he wouldn't listen. More like interrogate than talk, Serena bitterly thought. Izuku frowned, a pensive look on his face before ultimately making up his mind. I'll be right back, Izuku said before he went out the door and took off. Wait, Izuku, Serena shouted as her crush ran off, Pikachu and Eevee running by her side. She frowned as she thought, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that you think he's still worth your friendship. Izuku ran down the halls and stairs of UA, all the while remembering Bakuga's words during the fight. You talk big, but you are still shaking, Bakuga growled. You are still afraid, yet you are fighting me anyway. That's why I hate you. Izuku gritted his teeth. Damn it. You were tricking me for years, weren't you? Laughing baying my back as you had a quirk all along. Izuku clenched his left hand. Don't tell me that's all you got. Or are you holding back? Where was that strength you used during that ball throw yesterday, huh? Izuku continued running, thinking in his mind. I have to tell him. I can't let him leave without telling him the truth. Izuku ran out the front door and found Bakuga walking out of UA's main gate. Kabakugu, Izuku yelled. Wait. Bakuga froze in his tracks, turning back with wide, hollow eyes. What? He whispered in a growl. Come to gloat on your victory, Deku? Izuku stopped several feet from his former friend and said, I have to tell you something. Bakuga stayed silent, waiting for what Deku had to say. Meanwhile, Izuku mentally struggled with what to say. Should I tell him about One for All? I promised All Might that I wouldn't tell it to anyone. I haven't even told my mom about this. But I can't just let him go without explaining myself. Izuku's thoughts turned back to that fateful day, when Bakuga said those words of advice, when he brushed off his help from the sludge villain, and just recently, during the ball toss and the battle training exercise. No, I can't tell him about that. He wouldn't accept it. He will think I was lying. And even then, he could probably hate me more if I tell him about All Might. As much I hate too, as much as I don't want to, I have to lie to him. I wasn't hiding my quirk from you, Izuku revealed. I truly only had it recently. About a month, actually. Bakuga perked up, his eyes still wide and shadowed but attentive. My quirk. It's called Aura Force, Izuku explained. It works by using my own life energy to boost my strength and speed. But I know that you figured that out from before. But the reason I only had it now is because my body wasn't ready for it. It was a late blooming quirk. If I use too much, it breaks my body and I end up helpless. And I couldn't use it from our childhood because I didn't know about it then. My aura was building until it got to a point where it can finally be used. But I broke my arm the first time I used it. I got a handle over how to use it, but I still have little control over it. Bakuga started growled softly. Izuku continued with, I know it sounds absurd like I'm lying about it, B, but I'm not. I never lied to back then, Kabakugu. I just wanted you to understand that. And to tell you that I still got a lot to learn before I could match you, but I'm still trying. I swear, Bakuga, that I will get control of this power that I was suddenly given. And one day, I will catch up to you and I will be able to fight you as equals. Bakuga's eyes widened, shock showing in his ruby red eyes. Izuku waited for his response, which came as a scoff. Are you shitting me? Bakuga growled. Do you think I'm some kind of idiot? I heard your crappy explanation about your quirk today already. So what are you doing here for? Came to rub in your victory by bragging about your so-called quirk? Izuku's eyes widened in surprise. Don't you go bullshitting me like I'm some idiot. Bakuga continued. I lost. Worst of all, I lost to you. You knocked me out while that pink-cheeked bitch of yours grabbed the weapon. Izuku frowned at the name that Bakuga called Uraraka. You scored first in the exams, ranked higher than me in Aizawa's test. And now you beat me in that exam with a quirk that you got a whole month ago? Bakuga thought back to the footage of Todoroki's and Serena's quirks. And when I watched that ice guy, I realized that I couldn't beat him either in a fight. And that water chick that's clinging to you could beat me too. Crap. I even agreed with what that teacher and rat said about me. My attack was so stupid, and it was all because I wanted to beat you so bad. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Bakugo clenched his fists. I don't care whether you have a quirk or not. I don't care about you trying to say that I'm still stronger. I don't care for that useless bullshit of yours. I don't even care that you are not calling me that dumb name either. Enjoy that win of yours, Deku. Bakugo raised his head, glaring at Izuku with teary eyes. You won't get another. I'm just getting started. Got that? I'm going to be the #1 hero no matter what. Izuku glared back at Bakugo with unwavering resolve, Bakugo gritting his teeth in rage to hold back his tears of defeat and shame. You'll never beat me again, you bastard. Bakugo turned around, wiping away his tears, and started to march away. Don't even try. So, this was all about your pride. Izuku deduced and thought. Then I'm sorry, Bakugo, but I'm not going to give up just because you want to be #1. I'm going to be more than #1. I'm going to be the greatest hero in the world. I made a promise. Izuku thought back to that day when lost a Pokemon battle to Bakugo and he beat him in that ally. He remembered what he said. Izuku clenched his fist. But I will. Bakugo stopped as he turned back, Deku glaring back at him as he spoke. I'll keep trying again and again. Because #1 or not, that's the hero I'm going to be. A hero that never gives up with a smile on his face. Bakugo gritted his teeth, enraged, but walked away nonetheless. Meanwhile, eavesdropping on the scene behind a pillar, Serena stared at two, one with pride and concern, and the other with anger and resolve. Pikachu and Eevee watched the scene too, one looking at Izuku in concern, the other glaring at Bakugo's retreating form in hatred. All Might, still in his skinny form, stood behind a tree, overhearing his Izuku's and his former friend's declarations in silence. Mina, Ochiko, Momo, Tsuyu, and Toru watched the interaction through the windows above. I wonder what that was all about, Mina questioned, watching as Bakugo walked off while Midoriya walked back towards the school. A fated battle between rivals, Uraraka dramatically declared. Whatever Midoriya said, it looked like Bakugo wanted to punch him. Tsuyu spoke honestly. Easy doesn't look too happy either, Toru pointed out. Childhood friends now turned bitter enemies, Momo said. Bakugo's fire has been lit. He's not going to back down, Izuku thought as he walked back. But neither will I. I'm done chasing after you, Bakugo. Now I'll start trying to surpass you. A few hours later, night fell onto UA, with a single light shining inside the school. Inside Nizu's office, Nizu watched the footage of Midoriya's fight with Bakugo, looking closely at Izuku's final kick, pausing exactly at the time when Midoriya's leg glowed in a blue halo. There, Nizu pointed out. He subconsciously used it. It's not the power residing in One for All. It is clearly the power residing in himself. Don't you think so, Master Taisher? Walking out of the shadows, the light of the holographic screen illuminated the figure to reveal the man in the white cloak, the unique 18-gem amulet hanging by his neck. Indeed, he spoke in a voice like silk. His power is truly impressive. In fact, just earlier today, he aura walked in his sleep and saw me. Did he? Nizu asked, himself for once surprised. Without any training. Mr. Midoriya continues to surprise. So, do you believe he should be trained? It's not a matter of should, the man Taisher said. It's that he must. He grabbed his necklace and brought it to his face, the middle green orb reflecting his shining glasses. I will not let such a student fall prey to darkness. Not again. Sir, did you see this joke? A voice said, a newspaper landing onto the orange-lit counter of a bar. On the newspaper, the article's title reading, All Might becomes UA teacher, closes agency temporarily. It says he's a teacher now. The voice spoke again, raspy and vile, as the speaker placed a cup of beer onto All Might's face, staining his face in water. Hey, the speaker said towards a man in a suit, a metal brace around the neck, and his head and face nothing but a smoking black and purple mist with yellow eyes. What do you think will happen? A large mass of purple muscles loomed behind the speaker. When the mighty symbol of peace, the man's body was lit by the orange light, revealing a skinny pale man in black clothes, messy grayish-blue hair, and white hands all wrapped around his entire body. A hydreigon floated out of the shadows and floated beside the man covered in hands. The man looked at the article again, a ruby-red eye filled with malice and madness peeking out from the hand covering his face. Is finally killed by the villains.